I'ma come a little different. But I tell them, free real start federal. Hey, let's get it. Let go, let go, let go.
Welcome back to the Lunch Table Podcast. I'm Davo, that's Chabo, and we are back at you for episode 2 here at the Lunch Table. We're going to get right into it. Hottest topic, JJ Redick is now the new head coach for the most heralded franchise in NBA history, the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yes, sir.
I don't even know where to start with this, bro, because a 39-year-old that has zero coaching experience is now under the helm with the Lakers. Break this down for me.
Oh yeah, I mean I think it's a great pickup. I love JJ Redick. I love, you can't put a regular coach into the seat of the Lakers office. It's got to be somebody that you can't put a normal guy there. And JJ Redick, like you just said, is not a normal guy. The only person JJ Redick's coached to this point is his son in the 10-year-old AAU league. So, I think it's awesome. I think whenever the rumors came out that JJ was interviewing and applying for the job, I was super duper thrilled. I hated when it died down. They offered it to Hurley and talked to some other guys, but out of nowhere, it seemed like the rumors picked up, probably yesterday a little bit, and then we got the notification this afternoon that Redick's going to be a Laker. So I love the move. I read a bunch of stuff of just why the Lakers were so impressed by him, kind of what his philosophy is looking at. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of the move. Dave, we haven't talked about it yet. Do you like the move?
Man, to be honest, no. And it's not really on JJ Redick. But let's rewind for a second. Dan Hurley, that would have been one of the best NBA hires I've ever seen in my life. Now, obviously, he turns it down, which I think, for the Lakers, that looks horrible because you're talking about, again, the most heralded franchise in the NBA. And Dan Hurley says, 70 mil, nah, I'm good. I ain't worried about it. I'll stay out here with UConn. Obviously, he's building the gauntlet out there with Connecticut. But, man, for him to turn that down, that's step one to me. But the reason that I'm having a hard time with this hire is because experience means a lot to me. You've got to show that you've done it somewhere. And JJ Redick, look, he's got podcasting experience, he's got playing in the NBA experience, and he's got 3 years of TV analyst experience, but he's got zero coaching experience. Look, heck, I've been a TV analyst. Does that mean I could be the Lakers head coach? I mean, really. It's tough for me because I like JJ Redick as a guy. I think him and LeBron, obviously they're close. He brings him on his podcast, whatever. But who's really running the show here? Is it Jeannie Buss? Is it Rob Pelinka? Is it JJ Redick? Is it LeBron James? I don't know where this franchise is going. I don't know who the leader is. And that's really my bigger problem. So maybe it's not even a hire of Redick. I don't know what this organization's standing on because you got 7 different talking heads, and I don't know which voice is the loudest right now for the Lakers. So to me, man, it feels like just discombobulation all over the place. And again, who is calling the shots?
Right. I'll say this. So I like Hurley. He's a great coach, obviously. The pushback on Hurley's mind has been collegiate team basketball for how many years? So that's now, do I doubt he would be a phenomenal NBA strategic coach? Absolutely not. But there would be not a learning curve, but a transitional curve there, I'd say. The second thing I'll say is out of the Lakers head coaching candidate pool, there's not a Phil Jackson that can step in, and objectively, we all know that's the voice. There's not an Eric Spoelstra that can step in and, out of the coaching pool that they have, nobody is an established, solo, objectively amazing hire, So my thing with JJ is, has he been an NBA coach or a college coach or any type of coach besides youth league? No. What I'll say, while I still have hope for him, is because JJ Redick has something that a lot of those other candidates don't have to this degree, and that's locker room skills. JJ Redick had a 15-year NBA career. He's well liked by a ton of guys, and the guys that he's not liked by, they're not coaches in the NBA. And so that's where my thing is with JJ Redick. He comes in, he's been thinking about being an NBA coach for months and years But we don't know how long before that. He's been coached by Coach K at the collegiate level, Stan Van Gundy in the NBA, guys of that caliber. He's been around great coaches. He's always been a phenomenally intelligent professional athlete. And then for the past 2, 3, 4+ years, he's been prepping to get on the biggest stage and show he's got the same brain power as some of these guys like Joe Mazzulla and other guys in the league that are not interested in, oh, well, these are outdated ways. Oh, well, back in the day we ran this way. No, no, no. JJ Redick is focused on analysis and he's focused on the future. And that's where I think the Lakers want to be headed after LeBron's done in a couple years. So that's why I like the hire, and I'm a fan. It's not because I don't think JJ Redick is the best coach in the NBA. Obviously, he may not even be a top 30 coach in the world. But out of the candidate pool they have, he's the one that I think has the most upside.
Here's where I'll agree with you and disagree with you at the same time. Because I do think, as a guy, when JJ Redick steps into the locker room and he's looking at Anthony Davis and he's looking at LeBron James, I think his voice will definitely be very clear and they will want to listen to him. Mm-hmm. Where I will push back is on two fronts. The first one is he your friend or is he your coach? And this has been a knock on LeBron, let's be honest, since he's gotten to the NBA. He takes up so much attention and he is so smart that for him, it's hard when Darvin Ham steps in to just say, all right, yeah, you got it. You drop the place. Because LeBron has never had a coach. His NBA career,
he had Spoelstra. He had Spoelstra. I'll push back and say Spoelstra.
He did have Eric Spoelstra. Okay, I'll agree with that in Miami. But you look at Frank Vogel, you look at Darvin Ham, you look at these guys that have stepped in, it's always been LeBron's team. So with this hire with JJ Redick, I'm thinking this really feels like a LeBron, you're honestly our coach, so we're going to bring in a dude that you like, that's your friend, and y'all can vibe together. That might work. It really might. So I don't disagree with you. I guess I'm kind of thinking in the scope of, Redick's got a 4-year deal that he signed, right? So LeBron still might be with the Lakers in 4 years, given how well he takes care of his body, but he might not.
Right.
And when LeBron's gone from that team, where's JJ Redick at as a head coach in that equation? I don't know. I'm not saying he's going to be bad. I think he could be good because I like JJ Redick.
Yeah.
But it's just so much unclarity to me. I want to know who's calling the shots. I want to know who was the leader because I'm not getting that vibe right now. I'm clueless.
Right. Well, and the reason you don't have that vibe right now, I think, is because, like we talked about, JJ doesn't have experience. You have nothing to base it off of, and so I think I like the 4-year tenure. I like that from a logistical standpoint. One, because like you said, that's a borderline realistic timeline for LeBron. And I've also thought that Anthony Davis's voice, player-wise, was the most listened to. They asked Davis the most questions about what the next coach should bring to the table, which I think is a smart move. And also, like I said a little bit earlier, JJ is obviously cool with LeBron. They have a lot of similar philosophies offensively and defensively. But second, I think JJ is ready, or he will be equipped, and he is excited for a team that's not led by LeBron James. He interviewed with the Raptors a year ago, He interviewed for the Charlotte Hornets recently, a very young, no identity team. So I think he's ready. And I know you love the Hornets and LaMelo. Shout out LaMelo. I'm a big fan too. But suck. That's how it is. So, the Lakers, I think JJ is in a great spot because he's going to get to deal with a team that's led by LeBron and AD for a limited amount of years. Right. And then he's, if things work out well, he's going to have the keys to the biggest organization in the NBA with a lot of future stars, and he's got a couple years to build the future his way. So that's what I'm a fan of, for sure. I'm a fan.
It's a very interesting topic because, I sit here and listen to you and you make your argument, and I can't disagree with the points that you bring up. But yet, even when I hear it, I'm still thinking in my mind the same points that I brought up. So it's one of those hires to me where it really could work. Mm-hmm. I think the Lakers could be a team that, you say, man, that JJ Redick hire was phenomenal. Mm-hmm. But you also can look at it and say, they really missed on that one. So, to me, they got to find some pieces. Like the head coaching position's important. They got to find some pieces around LeBron and AD because right now, it just seems like they're trying to pick up these has-beens, these guys that have had potential, but none of them really show it. They're not consistent. Look, you got LeBron. Just give us some dudes that can hang 10 on the board every night, and you'll get there.
Right. And and I think he'll develop guys like a Rui Hachimura, Max Christie, guys of that nature. But I completely get what you're saying. My argument, it leans optimistic. And the reason there's holes or doubt in my argument is because there's no proof to fill in those holes yet. So I completely everything I'm saying is, it leans optimistic because I'm a JJ fan. I like the Lakers. I've been a Bron fan. So I'm leaning in a hopeful direction. You're leaning in a doubtful direction, but we both completely understand the argument. So for sure.
Yeah. Well, look, there's another contract that has been signed, and this one is not in the NBA, but I got some strong opinions about it because it deals with my Jacksonville Jaguars. Our select athlete of the week is Trevor Lawrence. If you have not already heard, he has now signed a 5-year, $275 million contract extension with the Jags. I'm going to try and collect myself for this, so I'm going to let you start because I don't like it, but I'm curious what you think.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of want to hear your take because it feels sacrilegious talking about the Jaguars before you, Davo. That's your squad. But I mean, it's funny, Davo. I mean, Jacksonville was a top 10 team in the league in offensive salaries with a rookie QB deal. And then you add the most expensive QB deal in the league on top of it. So it's one of those things where, it's hard to it's hard to justify it at this point in my mind. So yeah, I mean, T-Law gets 275 for 5 years after a year of regression. So I'm gonna let you collecting yourself. I'm gonna let you say what you need to say, and I'll give you just a couple pieces of what I think T-Law can control, and then pieces that I think have been out of his control that make him look, a little bit worse than he is.
Yeah. Well, this is not my unsweetened tea segment, but it kind of is an extension. Okay. Here's where I'll start with Trevor Lawrence. He is not a horrible quarterback. I want to get that out there and be clear. He's not terrible. But as my AirPod continues to fall out, what I will say is Trevor Lawrence, when you watch him as a QB, and I said this before he was drafted, the skills that he has outside of having a strong arm have not been proven. Is he great in the pocket? I've watched a lot of Jaguars games. I'll tell you this right now. The answer is no. Is he accurate with the football? The answer is no, because he's not consistently accurate with the football. I've seen too many 30-yard fly routes where he just airmails it over Christian Kirk or Evan Ingram. He's not consistently accurate. And the biggest thing for Trevor Lawrence, his decision-making is horrible. And I've seen too many fourth-quarter games where Trevor Lawrence thinks that he's Peyton Manning, which everybody compared it to, and he tries to make the most ridiculous throws ever, and it ends up in an interception. The contract that he signed is the same as Joe Burrow's, which is also, by the way, an NFL record. And I'm sorry. Hey, Trevor Lawrence is not as good as Joe Burrow. He also hasn't shown anything like Joe Burrow has shown. And man, you look at the Jaguars when they were good. You know who their QB was, Chabo? It was Blake Bortles.
UCF champion. The UCF now.
It was Blake Bortles, and he got a lot of heat. But I bring that point up to say this. The quarterback position is undoubtedly the most important in football. I'm not questioning that. But the way rosters are constructed and the way that you've got to understand the time. Does Trevor Lawrence have the pieces in place right now in his career to earn the highest quarterback deal in the league right now next to Joe Burrow? My answer, at least my opinion, is no. I don't see the proof in the pudding. His stats are that of Daniel Jones,
who also got a deal.
New York Giant. Exactly. Trevor Lawrence and Daniel Jones are almost the same dude to me. They both have Daniel Jones. They both can run what they want. They both have very strong arms, but they also both love to throw it to the wrong team. I mean, look, Trevor Lawrence can be great, but I don't need can be. I need has been and will be and is. What he did last season was he led the Jags to not a playoff berth, where CJ Stroud and the Texans looked light years better than them. I'll digress from there. But Trevor Lawrence was given too much money.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what it comes down to, and I'm not gonna bash him too crazy because you said it right. That's the thing is, pro sports is a funny place because guys that don't get top quality or that don't give you top dollar play get a lot of top dollar money. So I've stopped trying to make sense of a lot of it. But to your point, I'm the type of guy I'm not an NFL GM, and you certainly can pay the right guy the right dollar. I don't think you have to have a $275 million quarterback to be a playoff football team.
No.
And which the Jaguars are the opposite. They got a $275 million quarterback now. They're not a playoff football team yet. So, and you being the Jaguars fan and saying what you need to say about T-Law says all this argument or statement needs to say, and so I'll agree. The two areas, like you mentioned, that I think Trevor Lawrence can control and that he has to improve on these to be anywhere close to deserving $275 million. And that's precision and decision making. That's what a lot of quarterbacks got to work on, but quarterbacks that get less money make a lot better decisions. And so that's what I think are two areas that T-Law's got to control. And now if you're on a rookie deal, yeah, you can have some inconsistency, and that'd be justifiable. You making big bucks this season, bro. So you got to improve. There's no question.
No excuse.
Your money exponentially improved. You've got to noticeably improve. So I will just to not make T-Law look like the trashiest player in the National Football League.
He's not horrible. He's not horrible.
Right. And you led with the argument he's not a bad quarterback. A couple areas that I think that are out of T-Law's control a little bit that makes him look a little bit worse than he actually is. I would say one last year was the durability of the receivers. They're paying a lot of money for these receivers, and so a lot of guys think T-Law, man, he's got help. They're spending all these monies on receivers, XYZ. He didn't have these guys every game, and they were in and out all year. So he didn't have his full squad.
That's true.
That's one point I'd make. The other two, kind of statistical wise, Jaguars were 31st in EPA per rush last year.
Yeah.
If you're watching this podcast and you're not an NFL expert, there's 32 teams in the NFL, and there's one team that was worse than Jacksonville last year in the rush game. So there's that. Second,
no, you're right.
They were 29th in pass block win percentage. 29. Like, there's three teams. So it's you can't block anybody on passing when you're trying to protect T-Law. On T-Law plays, you're bottom 4 in the league. And when you're handing the ball off to the running back, you're dang near worse in the league. So it's he's got some help on paper. But they were not putting it together last year, and it's hard when you're the face of an offense to look respectable when the rest of your offense is performing to that level. And another just to throw in that makes T-Law's numbers look worse than they should have been is no quarterback had more drop passes last year than Trevor Lawrence. In the past 3 years, not just like in the past 3 years, you take every quarterback in the NFL, combine them, nobody has had more balls dropped than Trevor Lawrence. So you think about, how his money or how his stats may, deserve him some more money in the future. Guys, if they catch an average amount of footballs, his numbers are going to look a lot better. So that's, drop balls, injured receivers, running backs, and O-line ain't giving them as much help as they are on paper. T-Law has, there's the people around him need to improve in the same way he does, and if they do, Jacksonville's a scary football team. That's if the offense around Trevor Lawrence as well as Lawrence improves, Jacksonville's a scary football team. They've made the playoffs with the pieces they've already got, so T-Law, he'll be all right. But if you want to sign a piece of paper that makes you a top dog, you got to perform like a top dog. And so that's the spot T-Law's in now. I'm interested to see how he brings it to the table this year.
And I'll end on this. I'm glad you brought up some of those numbers because obviously when I was going on my rant, I was speaking to where Trevor Lawrence himself flopped. Now, obviously, the things around Jacksonville did not help him whatsoever. I mean, I sat there and watched the revolving door of an offensive line with the Jaguars. Cam Robinson couldn't stay healthy to save his life. We saw Walker Little, who was supposed to be really good, jump around left tackle, right tackle. I don't know what's going on. We don't have a guard that can play worth a heck. Brandon Scherf is definitely not playing up to his work. So there's a lot going on. So I'm glad that you pointed that out, because you're absolutely right on the other end that he needs help from the guys around him. So, it is a mixed bag.
Right. Jacksonville, you got some scars and bruises to patch up, but I don't know if I'd be the one to go do it with a $275 million Band-Aid. That's
exactly. No, yeah, that's the best way to put it. I mean, does he fix your team? To me, not right now. And so I'm not paying him $55 million a year kind of money when he's not going to fix your team at this moment. But it is what it is. Here we are.
All right, y'all. So a new segment we're trying out is what we're going to call 1%. We talk about sports on the lunch table 99% of the time. So this is the 1%. And so today I'm gonna connect it. I'm gonna segue it with sports. So we just talked about Trevor Lawrence, who is getting paid a ton of money to play for the Jaguars. A guy who is not getting paid a lot of money to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers is Russell Wilson. He's on the veteran minimum. Denver is sending him a check for, whatever reason. That sucks. Bad decision making. But he's getting no bread really from the Steelers. Well, Russell Wilson, he's getting no bread from the Steelers, and he's going home to one of the most legendary R&B artists for a long time, long career. Shout out to Miss Sierra, and I'm gonna let Davo connect the dot for you for Miss Sierra, but it's something that be on the lookout for.
Man, quick segue. By the way, shout out to my brother Hovey, because he just announced that his new feature artist for the Alter remix will be Sierra.
Woo!
I mean, that is nuts.
Yeah.
When you think about, kudos to him, first off, man. Kudos to God.
Shout out Hovey, man. Shout out God and Hovey.
When you think about Christian rap, bro, and now you're talking about one of the most famous R&B artists there is, just across the table, hopping on a song with Hovey, I had to shout that out, man, because that was too noteworthy not to mention. So, man, shout out to my brother Chris, a.k.a. Hovey, and Sierra, of course.
Well, I mean, Sierra had hits before I was in the womb, bro.
Exactly, bro.
That's impressive. I mean, Sierra, that's a great. I mean, she married to Russell Wilson. Sport Lunch Table Podcast. We just talked about T-Law. Man, sometimes the segues make themselves, man. So yeah, that's awesome.
That's why we do this, man.
That's it. I mean, shout out to Hovey. That's I wanted to wait to introduce the 1% until we had a real special, sentimental connect. And Hovey rocking out with Sierra. That's a pretty first 1%. So shout out to Hovey.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely, man. All right. It's time for my favorite segment. Hopefully y'all's favorite segment too. Unsweetened tea. We explained it in the first episode, but I'll explain it one more time. Me and Chabo, we're both from the South. We love ourselves some sweet tea, but what we don't like is unsweet tea. And if you do, I'm praying for you. I don't have sweet tea in my hand right now. I wish I did, but I do have some thoughts in my mind about this Belgium team. I'm a huge soccer fan, especially when it comes to the Euros. And the Euros 2024 have just started, and Belgium has always been one of my favorite teams. Well, they walk in, and they are playing the country in Slovakia, and they are favored to win by a lot. Slovakia's odds to win this game was at plus 600. Belgium was the number 3rd ranked team in the world when it comes to across the board who was the best. Belgium was number 3. I had to watch them boys play Slovakia and lose. Belgium lost to Slovakia. Can you name one thing about the country Slovakia? I don't even know where it's at, because nobody cares about Slovakia. Yet Belgium rolls in there thinking they can just pity battle their way in. Instead, although they led 16-10 in shots, although they had 61% of possession in the game, although they thought they had 2 goals, they both were overturned because they were offsides. Lukaku, you're a great player, But brother, I need you to step it up when it matters the most and make sure you're staying alert of that back line. To see Belgium lose like that, and what a lot of people said was the biggest upset in Euros history, I was fuming. Are you kidding me? To Slovakia? I mean,
Right.
look, it's one thing if it's, Italy or Spain or England. You lost to Slovakia,
Man.
who was plus 600 odds to win.
Man.
Man, I don't know how many of y'all watching are soccer fans, but all you need to know is Belgium laid an egg. And I
Man.
was very excited about this tournament. I stepped in here so ready for the Euros, and my heart got crushed very quickly.
Man. Well, I'll say this. I don't think they serve sweet tea in Slovakia, but if I hit a bet of plus 600 on the Slovakian soccer team, I'm going to buy me a couple gallons. That's crazy, man. And that's the thing,
Yep.
I watch a lot of sport. I know the Euros just started. We've had it on the office TV. I haven't kept up with it to a degree. I don't have a clear favorite, but the biggest upset in Euros history potentially. Yeah, that I think that qualifies for an unsweet tea segment, Davo. So great choice on that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, great choice. I wish I didn't have to choose.
Right,
I
exactly.
mean,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, dang, well, that's crazy. Going from we're about to go to a different, I don't know if it's a different hemisphere, but across the pond, if you will, and we're gonna go down from professional to the collegiate level. What I want to bring up for the unsweet tea segment of my choice is the recent rule. I know it got introduced a couple months ago. I think I want to say it went officially in this offseason this summer, is the NCAA now allowing unlimited transfer portal usage. Now, as a former Division One NCAA compliance worker, I dealt with a lot of this stuff on a daily basis back at Georgia Southern. Go Eagles! Luckily, I don't have to deal with it now.
Southern baby.
But yeah, hell Southern. But I don't like this move at all. I don't, and I'll push back. I'm a bigger fan of the transfer portal than most collegiate sports fans. I think it is a necessary tool. I think there are thousands of athletes a year that use it the proper way. It helps thousands of athletes a year get into better situations, but they don't give you get out of jail free cards in a full unlimited stack when you play Monopoly. So I don't like that we're getting unlimited get out of school free cards in college athletics now. The rule where you get, for those of y'all, if you're watching this podcast, you probably understand the NCAA transfer history. If you need a refresher, used to, if you transferred, you can transfer. But every time you go to the next school in the same level, like D1, you got to sit out for 365 days. And so then, I think it was 2021, around the same time as the NIL stuff, maybe 22, the NCAA said you get one free transfer. You can transfer somewhere and you're immediately eligible, but you only get one. And I think that was the perfect medium, because you have to be strategic with it. Now you're going to have guys, and every time coach tells them no, they're going to pull up to the compliance office and say, hey, put me in the portal. Hey, screw this. I'm going to go somewhere else and play next, immediately tomorrow. So I do not like the move. I'm a proponent. I like the NIL stuff. I like, reasonable amounts of transfers, but it's proving to be that collegiate athletics does not know the perfect gray area between amateur sports and professional sports. They haven't found it yet. I don't think it's going to be found anytime soon, because it's getting, when they introduced everything, there were no guidelines. And when you introduce stuff with no guidelines, it's going to be crazy. And that's what we're looking at right now with collegiate athletics. And it doesn't look like the NCAA is planning on stopping that snowball, because they keep adding rule changes like this to it. So, I'm not a fan. And if somebody's watching this goes, well, Chase, why aren't you a fan of, unlimited transfers? Like they can just bounce around and get to the best situation. Guys, y'all don't know how many players bounce around and end up bouncing back to the house. The transfer portal is not a guaranteed system. You can put your name in that portal, but the other side of that portal might be your mama's couch. So you never know. And so there's not another set of pads or another jersey at the end of everybody's portal. So I think as when the portal is encouraged to be used to this degree by the NCAA, it's going to get overused, and it's going to get a lot of athletes off the right path. You can get into the conversation of, oh, like this is an encouraging competition. You used to have to grind out your spot and earn it, and now you can just go wherever. everything's good in moderation. And when you're giving guys unlimited free transfers, that don't sound like moderation. So that's my take on the unsweet tea for episode 2. You know, NCAA, I've never been a fan of you, but here we are.
With you, bro. I mean, people have said this before, but it's not a secret. You think about the groundwork of the NCAA and the transfer portal. I completely agree. When they instituted, you can transfer to a school one time and you don't have to sit out for a year. That was perfect. I bet. Maybe not a favorable situation. You can move around. Cool. But what a lot of people don't realize is this is bigger than football. When you are at a place and you decide to leave because things aren't going your way, I got news for people. Life is hard, and you're going to have to figure out a way to push through some crap that you don't like. And now these dudes are going to almost 4 different schools at this point in their career. I can't tell you the amount of times I have called a game and I'm looking up a player and I'm sitting here looking at his bio and it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm looking all the way down the list.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I think there's got to be a point where you say, okay, you've got to learn to have some determination here. I don't blame the players. It's not on the players for transferring. This is not me trying to make them look better. This is on the NCAA to me, because you open up that can of worms. Of course, people are going to abuse that. Of course, people are going to move around. So, that's a great point.
And I'll add this real quick before we switch it up, David, because like you said, guys are leaving, or guys and ladies are leaving when stuff's not going their way. That's not even the limit of it. You're seeing athletes leave now when stuff is going their way. Coleman Hawkins from Illinois' basketball program was a starter, key role, NCAA tournament team, XYZ, the whole 9 yards. He just announced a week ago that he's going over to Kansas State for, like, I'm not going to dive in and say there was $2 million, but it's somewhere in that ballpark. And so I'm like, these guys are in good situations and they're leaving for the bag. So now you got people that are leaving because they don't want to grind out a spot. You've got people leaving because they don't like their coach. You've got people leaving because they're trying to chase a bag. You've got people leaving for all types of reasons, and there's no limit on it. And that's the part that I don't like, is that there's got to be a limit.
Yeah.
These players, there's got to be some guidance. It can't be an open can of worms, because who likes an open can of worms? I don't know.
Unless you're fishing, nobody.
Right, exactly. All right, so for the next segment, this was a huge segment that I was a fan of. It gets some of you guys involved, gives you guys a chance to get some input on what we talk about. It's called Comments from the Comments. I introduced it in episode 1. I'm going to do it real quick again. Basically, we're going to give you guys chances to comment questions or statements that you want us to analyze and answer here on the podcast. So for this episode, we're going to do 1 comment to keep us limited, because Davo and I will talk until the sun goes down and comes back up. The question that we're going to answer for this episode is from one of my guys, Christian Vecchio. Shout out to Christian Vecchio. Do the Philadelphia 76ers need to move on from Joel Embiid to win a championship?
Story. And I don't want it to seem like I'm always hating on the players we bring up, but I personally have never been a fan of Joel Embiid for multiple reasons. Is he one of the most talented centers that we've ever seen? 100%. What he can do with his size is ridiculous, and he's unguardable. But here's the problem. And Jabo, me and you have loosely talked about this before. He can't stay healthy. I mean, really, to me, there's not much of an analysis. Your superstars and your franchise player has to be able to be on the court. If he's not on the court, it don't matter. For Joel Embiid, he's very talented, but he's not there. He's not there when the 76ers need him the most. So, man, I'll answer the question and say yes. They do need to move on from Joel Embiid. Now, here's the tricky part with that, because it's a great question when you really think about the interfolds of, well, if you do get rid of Embiid, who are you going to get back? Right. Because he's too talented for you to give up Joel Embiid and not get the same kind of value that you had on the court with him. But at the same time, teams know that Joel Embiid ain't always healthy. And so they're going to kind of lowball it to a degree. So it's tough because I don't know the perfect scenario in which you can rebuild from getting rid of Joel Embiid, but I do think for the 76ers, they need to get rid of Embiid.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. My take on it is if you get rid of or let me say it this way, no move you make for Embiid is going to get you to a championship quicker.
No,
You know,
no, nope.
that's what I'll say. If you can move Embiid and improve your chances at a chip 6 years down the line. And so my thing is I'm a guy like, I can be I can be a pessimist, but in players that I'm a fan of, like a Joel Embiid, I lean optimistic. And so my thing is, oh man, if they just get one playoff run with a healthy Embiid, they're there. But
Yeah,
then again, what's the argument with a bunch of injured holes in it? And that's what we're looking at with, my argument right now for Embiid. When I read Christian's question the first time, I immediately was like, nah, they don't need to move on from Embiid. Like, da, da, da. Like Embiid is he top two center in the NBA, complete game, yada, yada,
yeah,
yada. It don't matter if you, Michael Jordan and LeBron having a baby together. If you can't stay on the court, you ain't worth nothing. You know what I mean? So that's
exactly.
you only worth what you producing, and if you're not on the court producing, then you ain't that good. And
Yeah,
so yeah, I mean, I could understand. I'm not gonna say, oh, you have to move Embiid to win a chip. I think I'm trying to think of who they got around him. I mean, you've got to add something. The current. I mean, they just had it. A Embiid that was on the court, and they lost to Jalen Brunson and the Knicks without Randall and without Mitchell Robinson and without a lot of guys. So every time you look up at the 76ers with bright lights on them, they're not showing up. So something has to change. I'm not going to say 100% that Embiid has to be that change because, if you get rid of Embiid, you're going to have to replace a lot of production when he is on the court. But
yeah,
they got to change something. I think they're a lot closer than the average person makes it out to be. I think that they have a lot of attributes that could potentially combat the Celtics. That's a matchup that I would
yeah,
like to watch with healthy players. I think they bring some things to the table that Boston hasn't proven to have an answer for yet, or they didn't have to prove it in this playoff run because they didn't play a team with a dominant three-level center. Because really there's two or three of them in the whole league. But so yeah, I think the Sixers are all right. I think they're close to a chip. I think they can win a chip with Embiid, but they got to change something. They can't do it with the current situation because they've had this current situation for a little minute. So yeah.
yeah. And I don't even know, to be honest, man, that they can win a chip with Embiid. You look at the team right now, right? Tyrese Maxey, very talented, up and coming guard, very quick, explosive. But man, I remember there was a point in time where people thought Tobias Harris was the missing piece for the Philadelphia 76ers. And he wasn't. Newsflash, Tobias Harris was not the missing piece. Joel Embiid, we talk about the health concerns. That's going to be number one. That will always be the case with him. But man, even when I watch him on the court, there are times, specifically in the playoffs, when he is there, that I watch and I say, this dude, it just seems like something's missing when the lights turn the brightest. And you mentioned it. You talk about a Knicks team that steps in without Julius Randle. And I love Jalen Brunson, but man, Jalen Brunson carved them boys up, and he made it look easy in the process. You can't be losing to the Knicks.
Yeah.
If you're that good.
But,
I mean, there's Nikola
not even the
Jokic.
Knicks. They're losing to the Knicks without their two. I mean, I love Isaiah Hartenstein, but you're playing the Knicks without their two best bigs.
Yeah.
And you
Yeah.
lost. I mean, Embiid, that's your shot. You're playing the Knicks
Exactly.
that's got guards out the whatever, and you playing them,
Yeah.
and Julius Randle and Mitchell Robertson are in street clothes, and you don't win. Come on, man. Come on.
So here's my question for you then.
Right.
Let's say you keep Joel Embiid. What does it take for Embiid and the 76ers to win a championship?
Energy. I think, for Embiid individually, it's energy. I think a reason Joel Embiid has not had a lot of postseason success is because that body cannot play 80 some games. That's what I think, and honestly, I could, even modify my answer from earlier and be like, yeah, you maybe do need to move on from Embiid, because if you can't get 80 games out of somebody, and the NBA is cracking down on load management and all that stuff, where you can't intentionally and strategically rest them to keep them healthy for the full year, that's what it is. The only reason I'm not giving a definitive you got to get rid of Embiid is because 700 days ago he's the MVP of the NBA. So that's
Yeah.
where it's
Yeah.
you can get rid of guys that are stars and come back and that be a solid decision. But it's hard for me to confirm and put on paper that I think Joel Embiid needs to be moved when he's the MVP 2 years ago. So that's what I'll say.
Yeah.
A year ago, no, yeah.
That's fair. But I'm going to say this too. James Harden was an MVP.
And then they changed the rulings of the NBA defensive rules, and his game got nerfed.
Yeah. Yeah. And obviously, I was going to say that is the trickier part. Obviously, Embiid is a
Well,
good defender, along with.
And also too, James Harden, MVP James Harden, did not have the same level of team contributors that MVP Embiid has. You know what I'm saying? Like Harden was the MVP because he had to put up 100 shots a night for Mike D'Antoni's ISO offense because they ain't have much help. Embiid's got Max, he's got Tobias Harris, he's got some other pieces around him. I keep looking at Philly and Denver, like, kind of going back and forth in my mind with comparisons, solely because you got an explosive clutch guard in Tyrese Maxey, Jamal Murray. You've got a 3-level dominant big, Nikola Jokic. You've got a third man who can produce and give you 25 in a playoff game on a rare night. You can say Michael Porter Jr. this year. You can look at an Aaron Gordon situation. That's your Tobias Harris comparison. So that's where I'm like, well, in Denver, that's everybody looks on paper, and that's one of the most solid teams in the league. And they're comparable to a Philly situation.
Yeah.
Same success and chemistry to a Philly situation, but on paper it's comparable. So I feel like most of my arguments are well, on paper, but here on paper Joel Embiid's been in Cancun while the NBA Finals are going on. So that's that may be the paper they need to start reading.
Yeah, and Embiid had Harden at one point in time in Philly. Embiid has had great rosters.
Yeah,
and every single year, it's always talked about. This is the time where Philly pushes through. This is when they get past the hump, and they never do.
Right.
And at some point, you got to evaluate yourself. You got to evaluate your team and say, all right, is it time to blow this thing up?
I agree.
I mean, they were sure as heck willing to do that with Ben Simmons, who, in my opinion, he got screwed from Philly.
Yeah.
I mean, what he did was remarkable. And then one bad series and they're ready to jump ship. Joel Embiid, it don't matter what mistakes he makes. It just seems like they're willing to keep him till he dies.
Right. Well, also, too, I mean, Ben Simmons is scared to put a layup in the bright light. Embiid got an MVP trophy.
But again, that was one series. That was one series. If you erase the Trae Young Atlanta Hawks series from Ben Simmons, people would still be talking about him as the next LeBron. Because you got to think, that's what people were saying about him his rookie year.
Yeah, and I think,
I mean, the mental side of the game is big,
right?
And his mental got screwed ever since Philly jumped ship,
right? And I mean, I'll say this too. I think the LeBron Simmons comparison happened because that happened when Ben Simmons was dropping 20 something a night at Montverde Academy. It's when LeBron got to. I'm saying, Ben Simmons,
he was dropping triple doubles with Philly.
Yeah, but it wasn't no 25-point triple double. And I get, and I love, and I like.
But it don't need to be.
I like Ben Simmons. I watched a ton of LSU games, yada yada. When he went to Philly, I was a huge proponent of it. But and Philly did jump ship on him quick. I agree with that. I was just saying, Embiid and Ben Simmons was not it wasn't a LeBron and AD situation. It's there's different levels. And I think that Embiid. Yeah, he's they may need to move on from him. I think for it to be completely justifiable though, you've got to give him you got to wait a little bit longer past the MVP trophy. That's what I think. I think you can't jump ship on
I think that's fair.
Right. That's I think Embiid soon that may not be the worst move Philly can make, but it's going to be a risk until you get a little bit more down the line past that MVP year.
It's time for our high five segment. I think this is going to be one of my favorites throughout whatever we do because we are ranking the top 5 video games of all time. And of course, this is in honor of the new game that's about to drop, College Football 25. I cannot wait for it to drop. I'm willing to spend $500 on the game if that's what they charge. I'm buying a PS5 for sure just because of that game. I don't even care. But man, when you think about trying to rank all the sports video games ever, there's a lot of good ones, man. There's a lot of good ones.
There's some good ones. I'm gonna put because I just got to do the honors, and I got to make sure this is on the board because it may be one of my favorite video games of all time. NBA Street Volume 2. From back on that PlayStation 2, you can call my dad right now, and he gonna tell you elbow room. Elbow room, boy. NBA Street Volume 2 with Bobito Garcia doing all the announcing. That's a game, man. 6th grade, I was at the middle school dance. But they had it at 3 o'clock right after school. I get in the car. Mom picks me up. We get home about 5 o'clock. Devo, somebody done broke in my crib and stole my P2 with the NBA Street Volume 2. Man, if I ever find out who that person was, boy, they gonna need some elbow room. Man, that I was so blown. That game, I played it on a buddy's PlayStation 2 years ago, like probably 4 or 5 years ago, way after I played it as a kid. And it's not you used to these new games. It's a hard game to play and be good at now just because of the transition of the gameplay. But man, the nostalgia around NBA Street Volume 2 is some of the best from a video game I've ever felt. So that I got to put that one on the list. Shout out to Stretch. Shout out to all the other street characters. They had some ballers on that game. I think Jordan was on there with the Wizards, Kobe and Shaq, and that was like the Steph Curry and KD Warriors on 2K. You can't use Kobe and Shaq. That's crazy. So that was a crazy game. I wish it would have been in that. I wish I could have the Jason Williams Kings on that game. That'd have been crazy. But yeah, Jay, NBA Street Volume 2. That's on the list somewhere. We can figure out where it could be one. It could be.
Yeah.
That's on the list.
Bro, is it bad that I've never played that game? Like
it ain't bad, but it's unfortunate.
I don't even know that I've heard of it.
Yeah. Oh man. Oof,
but now that you talk about it, I'm gonna have to watch some YouTube videos.
You don't even got to go to the YouTube video. Look up Spotify, NBA Street Volume 2 soundtrack, and you gonna feel like you want to go. Yeah, that's all you need. You just need the soundtrack alone makes it top 10. I mean,
oh, that's a bet. No, that's a bet.
No, it's awesome. Yeah, and you can play all the chords. You play Rucker Park. They got Nas playing in the background. It was a great game.
Rucker. Okay, that does sound tough.
Yeah, no,
I ain't gonna lie. Playing at Rucker Park would be nasty.
Yeah,
that would be cool. Yeah. But if you're throwing a classic out there, I'll go ahead and throw a classic as well. I don't know if you remember this game, Fight Night Round 4.
Okay.
Bro, when I tell you that game was ahead of its time, it is ridiculous. So this game, Fight Night Round 4, it came out in 2009. All right. So we're in 2024. It's 15 years ago. Bro, they had the face scanning ability for that game where you could import your face as a character.
Hey.
Bro, what game is doing that in 2009? The graphics were nuts. And here's the crazy part about it. This game was so good that I never owned this game, but I have such a specific memory from playing it at a friend's house.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is the coolest game I've ever seen in my life. I looked it up earlier today too, man, and it brought me back. Like, I think they have a Fight Night Champions round or something that they released in 2010. You can play with Rocky Balboa. But here's the hardest part of the game. The cover, Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali.
Woo! Ooh, you can't put out a bad video game with that being the cover. You know that?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So we got two classics.
Yeah, that we both need to check out, vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna bring my next, pick to the list, and I gotta throw a 2K game in here.
Yeah.
I'm not just gonna say NBA 2K. I'm gonna get specific, and I'm gonna go NBA 2K16. Okay, I'm gonna throw 16. Sunset Beach, before they try, I mean, now
Yeah.
it's a realistic game. You can play it and it's amazing gameplay. But before they try to make everything too smooth and too realistic, they still let it be a video game. Man, the amount of my park runs I got on that game with the boys, man, that alone puts it on the list. Just the amount of if I put that many hours into something and it doesn't get on my top five, then what was I doing? But NBA
Now
2K,
that's the one with LeBron, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so.
I think it's LeBron doing the
Doing this, yeah,
with his
the chart.
headband with Miami.
Yep.
No, that game was cold. It's funny you mentioned that because I had 2K17
Oh
on
wow.
my list, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, man, 2K16 was nuts.
Mhm.
I mean, that game because it really was before the cusp of like a new generation of
Yeah.
2K. If you think about it, 2K17 is when they introduced the shot meter, which is why it's probably my favorite 2K. I played the most my career
Yeah.
of any 2K
I played a lot
in
of
17. But man, bro, 16 is tough too.
And honestly, I kind of consider like 16 and 17 fall in the same bucket. I think 18 is
Yeah.
that's when the blow buys, and that's when all
That's when it, yeah.
they slowed the game down a little bit in 18. It was still very offensive, but it wasn't as quick, whatever rigid motion. So 16 and 17 definitely fall in the same bracket. And I just looked it up too. I think 15 was the one with LeBron. And then 16,
Okay.
it had like Curry, Westbrook, another guy. They had like the Michael Jordan was the deluxe edition, whatever. None of that mattered.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
16, yeah, so 16, 17, I could have talked about 17 in the same light I'm talking about 16. 16 was the first 2K that I sat down, hopped on the park, so it's got a bit of nostalgia and it was just a great game. So yeah, shout out 2K, man. They definitely slacked off for sure. They fell off.
Yeah. Oh, they did, bro. It's sad. It's sad. Now, I think we can agree with this one because we're gonna have to flesh out the 2K part probably at the end. NCAA 14, right? I mean, that's
Yep, that's it.
that's a
Yep.
no-brainer in the top five.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I figured we both agreed. Like, you don't even have to.
I mean, that's just, I mean,
Yeah,
this NCAA. I mean, bro, you road to glory, bro. Come on, man. What? You sitting there playing on your little P4 Xbox 360, man. You just got home from recess and
yeah,
you getting offers from Miami after you play a high school game. I mean, what's cooler
yeah.
than that? I mean, bro,
See,
yeah. What?
man, the wild part. I'll throw you back. So, I'm in middle school, right?
Hmm.
And I had a rule at my house where I was not allowed to play video games on weekdays.
Oh,
And yeah, I was not allowed to play Monday through really Thursday.
right, right.
So NCAA football 14 comes out. And obviously, I'm trying to play that game as much as I can. Bro, when I tell you, I did whatever I could to weasel my way into an hour every single day. Somehow, Mom, please, I'll do this if you just let me play.
Right. Dave,
Because that was one of the rules.
Davo
And
has
I respect it.
chores in his life. Peak chore Davo was 2013 on that game. That's
Yeah. And hey, shout out, Mom. I'm glad
yeah.
that she limited my game time. She kept me off the screens. It wasn't anything bad, but man, did I appreciate when I got to play NCAA football 14. You up till 5 a.m., man.
Yeah, the garbage was never full. The dishwasher was never full. The floors were always swept. And Davo was catching
Yep.
TDs in the back bedroom. That's what it's about, man. If that don't sound like a good childhood, I don't know what it was supposed to sound like.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Some kids want to go out and have fun, man. Nah.
Yeah.
I want to do whatever I can to play NCAA football 14 in the living room and dead in front of the TV on this little seat rest that we used to have. It wasn't even a chair, bro.
Yeah.
But I used to sit so close to the TV. I mean, my nose was probably touching the dang screen, and that's why I got to wear glasses now. I bet money, but I would sit on a daggone seat prop up because I wanted to be that close to the TV. Man, I was addicted to that game.
Oh yeah. That's what's up. Shout out and I feel like we haven't even done it justice NCAA 14 for all the things it brought to the table.
No.
when
Yeah.
college football drops in a couple weeks, month, whatever, we'll definitely have a revisit. But for the sake of this top five for NCAA 14, you're in it.
You know what we're gonna have to do, Chavo?
What's that?
Because I'm assuming we'll both have the game as soon as it comes out.
Maybe. I may, I
You
may, I
got to,
may,
bro.
I may vicariously live through you a little bit, but yeah, but
Man, I was gonna say we're gonna have to do like a
yeah,
review of
yeah.
college football 25.
I may call T Ross and say, hey, bring that P5 to Charleston and let's play
Oh,
for
I
a
don't,
week.
I don't think T Ross has the PS5 anymore.
He gonna figure it out. We gonna figure it
We
out.
gonna find it.
If there's a joker that's gonna be addicted to that game, it's gonna be Tyler Ross. So he gonna figure it out.
Yeah, that's bad.
He gonna hit one of those plus 600 Slovakia bets, and he gonna get that P5. Yeah, I bet he loved that Slovakia dub, man. He ain't even tell you, but that P5 is probably ordered already.
Man, we don't need to talk about Slovakia no more. But we'll put college football at the very top.
Yeah,
I think NCAA 14 is number one.
one. That's
Bro,
fair.
I like Madden 10 a lot.
Okay. I like Madden 09. Who was it? I think Drew Brees was on the cover of it. No. Drew Brees on a later one. Was it Vince Young on the cover
Was it?
of it?
I don't remember or not. I know Mike Vick was 07, I think.
I think Vince was on Madden 08. Hold on. Let me look that real quick. Madden 08. Yeah, Madden 08. That's the one I used to play. Was Madden 08 with Titans Vince Young on the cover. But 10 was 10. I played it less, but I remember playing 10. It was tough. Same era. So yeah.
Thing about Madden 10, bro, and it cracks me up when I look back at the game. They had the craziest cutscenes I've ever seen, bro. Like I'm talking a whole pregame cutscene where they're showing the daggum concession stand. The announcers they added. Let me look because I want to say it was Chris Collinsworth that they added to Madden 10 as one of the commentators. Of course, Palomalu on the cover along with Fitzgerald. You can't go wrong with that. Bro, that game was just smooth, man. They had the freaking chain game. Like it was a whole cut scene in the game was just the chain game.
They don't pay attention to the details like they used to, man. I mean, and it may be because they got to use all that memory space that used to be the chain game. They got to use it on the gameplay operating software or something. They've probably got an argument for. I'm probably not the first person to ask EA Sports why y'all don't pay attention to the chain gang anymore, but maybe we are. I haven't heard a lot of people mention the chain gang in Madden 10 before in 2024, but we still got to talk about it.
Bro, they had a pregame show, a halftime show.
Hey, man, that era of NFL football was probably my favorite, bro. It may be because when Madden 10 comes out, I'm about 7 years old, but man, just the guys around the league at that point, like that was before the NFL. And now, shout out to safety, but that was before the NFL started, changing the game pretty noticeably. It was still, it was new age not new age. It was 2000s athletes with 90 rules. You know what I'm saying? So that's where I kind of like that area of the league. But yeah, and Madden did a great daggum job of putting it on, in front of you and I on the PlayStation. So yeah. I like that too. I like Madden. We'll put Madden 10 on the list, but that whole era of Madden for sure.
Okay. So we got NCAA 14. That's number one. Yep. I say we put NBA Street at 2.
Okay.
Low key, bro. Fight night at 3.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Fight night 3.
And then let's do 2K4, Madden 5.
Yeah. So which 2K is the question?
16.
Or do we just say 6? Now that I'm thinking about it, bro, I think 16 is better than 17.
I'll hear that.
Because it was kind of like the last dance, if you will. It's like, man, the last real 2K before they changed everything up with the shot meter and all this bull crap. Right. I kind of like 16 at 4.
Yeah. Cool. 2K16. Yeah, that's a great list. NCAA football, NBA Street, Fight Night with Tyson and Ali on the cover. 2K16 with that boy Steph Curry on the cover.
Hmm.
And then you go,
And that's when Curry was on like not even come up because he arrived, but
right.
that's when he was at the peak.
I can't remember if that game came out the year before or like I don't know if it was the year before, the year during, or after he got that unanimous MVP too. So I mean
I want to say it probably would have been the year before
which is even better. That
because
they that yeah.
did he win the unanimous MVP the year after they won the first chip, or was it the year before?
I think
Or I mean, the
yeah,
year after or the second year?
yeah, I don't have a confident answer. I can't remember exactly, but 2K
Yeah,
2K put that boy on the cover and he was a unanimous MVP shortly that time or after. So they made the right
yeah,
call,
yeah.
the right game, and that's why it's number 4. So yeah, that's awesome.
Number 4.
Another honorable
I
mention
mean,
to honorable mention.
yeah,
You ever play that Cars video game on the Wii?
bro. This is how I know we're locked in because when obviously we were figuring out what segments we wanted to do for the episode, right? So we figure out, all right, we're going to rank the top 5 video games, sports video games. And Cars came to my mind, but then I was like, oh, that's not really a sports game.
Yeah. But
But
hey,
bro,
but
that's how I know we're locked in. That
right.
game was so tough.
Dynaco Lightning McQueen, stop playing.
Woo!
And
Because I
two
played on GameCube.
right, exactly. And the other, I had shout out to Cars because that was great. That top 3 Disney movie. That's gonna be another top 5 we do down the road. That might even be a one
Bro,
segment. Top Pixar Disney movies because I got a solid 3 about that. But
we gonna have to do that.
for the sake of this episode, the other 2 games that I had written down on my little sticky note about this
Yeah.
was I'm gonna start off with the one I think shouldn't be on the list, but shout out NBA Jam. It's tough.
Jam, yeah. Maybe, yeah. Yeah.
The older
Yeah.
it plays. I'm not talking about, you know, LeBron and D Wade on the phone or no. I'm talking like John Starks and Patrick Ewing, Nick. You know what I'm saying? Like that old
Yeah.
NBA Jam, that was crazy. But the one that it could compete for this top 5, I'm gonna let it. It's not that
Okay.
deep, but NFL Street was crazy, bro.
NFL Street was tough, bro.
NFL Street but I mean it ain't set in stone. NFL Street might be tapping Madden on the shoulder right now.
No, yeah, I don't disagree. I don't disagree with you.
Davo, you put Mike Vick, you get Mike Vick, Randy Moss. Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Them boy.
I don't disagree with you. I want to say my grandma got me that game.
Man,
And like,
oh man. Yeah. I don't know if he gonna listen to this video. He very well may. Maggie, her uncle Adam had his wedding a few months ago up in South Dakota, and I went on a trip. And when I walked into that Airbnb and they had the arcade box, like not a console, they had the sticks in NFL Street. Davo, boy, you could have locked me in that room for 24 hours, 365 days a week, and I wouldn't get bored watching that in the street, man. That would, boy, man, that's something different. So that's that's even earlier than the Madden era we're talking about, man. Them athletes, that iconic time, man. That may be top 5, dude.
Cole, I think it is. The more that I think about that game, because that was, what was it, like 7v7? Like it's an arcade style game, obviously. Like you're out there just having fun.
And the guys got to play both ways,
Street,
too.
bro.
That's the thing, they got to play both ways.
They got to play both ways.
Cool
in the hits, the freaking like stick hits that they had on that game, because I never hit square when I'm trying to tackle somebody in that. It's always right stick. I'm trying to lay them out. And in the NFL Street, bro, there was some mean tackles. I'm talking like get you banned for life from the NFL nowadays kind of tackles.
Yeah.
Bro, I like NFL Street number 5.
Number 5.
I really do.
There you go. That sounds good to me. Cool.
That's a cold top 5.
There's your official 5. If anybody watching this video, in case you've not listened to this long video and not been able to keep track of anything, we going NCAA football 14, NBA Street Volume 2. Shout out Bobito Garcia. Fight Night
Garcia, bro.
You can't be an announcer named Bobito Garcia and
Bro,
not be cold, man. What?
he's made up, right?
No,
Like,
Davo, this is a real guy. He was the one that
bro, I'm looking him up.
Davo, he directed and organized the game. Like he wasn't just the
Oh,
announcer. He was the one. He was like, nah, like this. What I don't know if it was his idea primarily or alone, but he was like the orchestrator of this amazing game. And he commentated it, bro. I mean, commentated it is making it too polished and politically correct. He is in there. Get out my way. Elbow room. Boy, what? Oh my gosh. That boy, every time I bump into my pops in the kitchen, elbow room. Come on. Come on. So we got NBA Street Volume 2, number 2. Number 3, Fight Night Round 4, Tyson Ali on the cover, ahead of its time. It's probably on that PSP, which is ahead of its time too. Number 4, we got NBA 2K16, shout out Sunset Beach. And then number 5, we done switched it up. We going NFL Street because if them hits was too hard to not be top 5.
too cold, bro. Too cold.
There we go. So I mean, we haven't figured out a way to beautifully wrap this up, I don't think, D, but I don't think we got to, you know.
Nah, man, we don't need to, bro. Here's what I'll say, because I mentioned this to you before we started. For those of y'all that don't know or don't realize, obviously we're just now starting this thing out. When we planned to do this podcast, at least for the first episode, we had 30 minutes planned. I mean, heck, I wrote a very, generalized show breakdown / format, and it ended after 30. We have the first 2 recordings, bro, we have hit almost 2 hours. Like,
yeah,
that tells you all you need to know about everything rolling.
I mean, episode 1, we split it in 2 parts, and both parts was longer than 30 minutes. Like, so yeah, that's what I told David before the episode. I said, David, we can't limit how much we talk. We just gonna have to cut out some questions and some segments. We gonna yap, but we gonna talk.
Yeah.
So this ain't Food Network, but we chopping it up. So that's what
me, bro.
That's what we're gonna continue to do. We appreciate you guys watching. We got into some good points today. We hope that you like the balance that we tried to stretch the material out when we talked about Slovakia, JJ Redick, and NFL Street in the same episode. Where you getting that? Where you getting that? So not ESPN, but on the Chabo and Davo lunch table, you're gonna get everything and eat well. So shout out you guys for listening to episode 2. I'm Chabo. That's my boy Davo, and we're gonna see you guys in a couple days in episode 3.
Bye. Appreciate y'all. Elbow room.
Elbow room.